Before we begin today's episode, I want to let you know that I'll be discussing mental health and suicidal thoughts, and this may be triggering for some listeners. There are resources available in the show notes. Listener discretion is advised. Y'all, I know you know that I love guests that have stories that are deep and wide, and I'm always seeking the people who have gone through the pain to get to the other side because I think they have the most to offer all of us. My guest today, who I just spoke to, Forest Blakk, is somebody who I've admired for a long time. First, his music, and then I was very grateful to get to know him a little bit in Nashville through some mutual friends. And let me just tell you that he's a wealth of positivity and acceptance and love. He has gone through so much. He has been homeless. He has struggled. He has, oh my goodness, stories that have resulted in documentaries. But he's also come out on the other side, and he now knows love. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Forest Blakk. Forest Blakk, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We have several mutual friends, and I have to start by saying that it's kind of a new, very, very, very new friendship. Like, we're just acquaintances last summer when we met. But our friends, the Shepherds, came into my life a couple of years ago, and Ryan, my husband, and we were going to a game one night, and at some point I said something about Forest Blakk, or your song was on. I was like, I love him. And they're like, he was in the suite. And I don't go like goo-goo or goo-ga about anybody. And I was like, are you kidding me? I miss Forest Blakk?
I felt the same. It's so sad.
My fellow Canadian? And I got to tell you, it's because when I was dating my now husband, Ryan, your song had just come out, If You Love Her. And I obsessed over it because I wasn't looking for love. And when I would listen to that song over and over and over, you were describing my relationship and how I felt, Ryan felt about me. And you really messed me up for a bit.
I held Ryan to like a standard that's like completely like you have to live up to right now.
That's right. And so it's kind of surreal that you're here in my little podcast studio. So
I love this. I feel like I'm at home now.
You do?
I feel like it's the Commonwealth that brought us.
So sweating buckets a little
Sweating
bit.
buckets. We're here. I know. I decided to wear a coat in 95-degree weather.
And it's funny, we were just doing our testing of the mic, and our podcast producer, Sarah, said, tell us what you have for breakfast. And you had to admit that you are fasting right now.
Yeah, I've been fasting for 2 weeks.
Why are you fasting? 2 weeks?
2 days so far. I don't know how long ago. No, I think it's good. I think it's good to kind of purge and cleanse and just, reset.
For health reasons?
Well, just life reasons. Yeah, I think look, I love ice cream. I just trying to find the balance.
I love French fries. Ice cream I can give.
I do love French fries. If Chris Martin can do it every Sunday, I can.
Good for you. I've done it a few times, and it's not my most favorite thing, but
I did it for 60 days once, and that was insane.
Oh,
yeah.
My goodness.
So, and that's a whole story that like opens. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, how dark and deep.
Hey.
So I was suicidal.
Okay.
And I was on a tour, and I was in Europe, and I had made this pact with this guy I'd just met in Calgary before heading off to Germany to play, and our pact was to lose weight. He was a new friend, and it was just like we had kind of the same body style and same height, and then also learning about like anxiety. I didn't really know much about anxiety, but I was like discovering that I was definitely feeling anxious. And I was like, well, what's the thing that we both have in common here? Because we figured out the anxiety thing. I was like, we look the same. So maybe there's a correlation between that. And so we made this like, little pact, and I went off to Germany, and I ate everything that Germany would want to feed, and came back, and I was probably about 10 pounds heavier. And he'd actually lost weight. He like stuck with it. And I felt so guilty.
No way.
Because no one had ever done that for me. No one had ever, I was always
He
held the ground.
He held the ground.
Yeah. And so I came back, and I was really embarrassed. And I was like, and the truth is I was over there, and I was in the worst mental shape I'd ever been in. And I didn't really know. This would have been in like 2012, maybe 2013. And I remember playing to like 7,000 people-ish, and literally on stage in my head going, okay, I don't want to be alive anymore. And I was really like, it was really heavy. It was a really heavy experience. And so I land back, and this guy does that. It's my buddy Derek, and I feel like completely guilty. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna press pause on that thought, and I'm gonna just kind of follow suit with him until he gives up. And he didn't give up,
Oh,
and I didn't give
dang.
up.
And so did it work?
Yeah, I lost 100 pounds,
Oh my God.
and he lost a ton of weight. And then I quit music. I quit for 2 years. I wasn't gonna come back to it either. I filmed a documentary about weight loss and like was learning all these things and like.
Forrest, you are surprising me. And we're like, what? Like 4 minutes into this podcast. I had no idea. You have lived 100 lives, it feels like, when I started to do a little research on you. So I want you to take us back to a little bit of the beginning. What was your childhood like?
Yeah, fucked awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It's tough because there's when you're a kid and you're kind of in the heaviness of life, you don't really understand that it's awful.
Mhm. And right now, just to set the tone, we are in Nashville, Tennessee, in my house.
Yeah.
But you were raised in Canada. You're Canadian.
Yeah, so I'm from Montreal. I was raised between, kind of all over the place. I was raised between Montreal, Jamaica, Florida for a couple of years, and then then Calgary and all over the place.
And now Nashville.
And then now Nashville, Tennessee, by LA in Germany.
But your beginnings started in
Montreal. Yeah, it was awful. Like, again, I didn't have much perspective as a kid. It was normal for me, but now with hindsight, and I mean, as a kid, I was starting along the way to understand it's not good.
Mm-hmm. Do you have siblings?
I do. Yeah, I have a sister and a brother, and then I have other siblings on another side of my family. So my mom got married when she was 16, left, like she was
that's beginning.
Yeah, poor Irish family, like just kind of trying, and married a guy and got pregnant, and by the time she was 18 had me. And so it's far too young. And
so you're the oldest.
I'm the eldest, yeah. And she didn't really know what to do. She's too young herself. Like her brain's not even formed, and here she is with a kid, and that's a husband it's not working. And that relationship implodes, and all of a sudden
Was your dad still there?
That was my bio dad.
Your bio dad, okay.
And so, but they split within like a year.
Okay.
And so she ended up meeting another guy, and that became my stepdad. And he was the worst person ever.
A monster.
Like, yeah, I think monsters would cower to him. It was that bad. Oh. Yeah, it was awful. And I think, again, in hindsight, looking back now, you get to see how much of a monster somebody is. This is a thing that's new to me because I'm of an age where I now knew him at this age. And
you knew him at this age, so he was your age.
He was my age, yeah. Now,
and the process of which trying to understand
how'd you do that?
How did you do that to a child?
That is a whole new world. So, yeah, I think for the whole base of life, it was like dealing with a mobster father and this like.
Was he actually like a mobster?
Yeah, there's books written about him. Like I was home and like filming a documentary about it, and literally walk into a chapters, and there's books on the shelf that I can open up, and he's in them.
Is he alive today?
Yeah, I don't know anything about him. I haven't known him pretty much my whole adult life, but yeah, I think I would. That's probably the one thing I would hear.
So he was in your picture your entire youth, or did he?
He was up until about 12. He went to prison when I was 12, and so he was in prison for like 4 years, from 12 to 16, and then. Yeah.
And then he
resurfaced.
Yes.
And then kind of mental warfare happened.
What kind of kid were you around that age?
I was a great kid. I was lost. I mean, I had no direction, and I had no kind of the bumper rails were off. So it's like it was chaos. Mm-hmm. But I was a good kid. I was really good natured and good hearted. And I would say I was pretty soft and gentle. And
did he take advantage of that?
Yeah, definitely. And
yeah, you would pray.
Yeah, and I think about that a lot. Like I was talking about this just this week with somebody because I've been writing an album towards all of this and like really kind of trying to say the things that I want to say, and to be vulnerable in that is really complicated because I'm having to confront a lot of things, and I'm having to face them, and I'm having to see them from both the angle of being a kid dealing with, or who couldn't deal with it, to then the adult who had to deal with it, and I'm trying to kind of remedy those two.
At what point did you decide you had to deal with it? Like, I feel like some people decide not to. It's too hard. I actually have friends in that state right now. And then other people are attracted to barreling straight through it, knowing that's the only path.
I think I've zigzagged. Like, I think as you become an adult, you don't really realize, like, because you're just getting to know yourself, so you're not sure what parts of you are from you and what
Mm,
parts are from kind of the influence of other people. So I think when you start leaning in and doing the work, you have to do the work. I can't just say, hey, this is what happened in my life, and this is why I think these things happened, and I have no accountability or responsibility. And it's like, I have a lot of responsibility,
interesting.
and that's on me, and I have to figure out where those things come from, and I have to make peace with those things. And then it's my job to not repeat that as an adult.
It's interesting that you say accountability because I think some people listen to that and want to give you, the 12-year-old boy a big hug and say, wait, you were 12. You have zero accountability. So how do you answer that?
It's a mix. I mean, I started posting. I did an interview in Toronto while I was on tour with James Arthur, and like went and did this podcast and spoke about it, and then I posted it online. And I didn't think much of it. When you're, as everybody knows, when you post online, you just don't know what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, some of those clips went viral, and the comments were wild because the opening statement is, "My father ruined my life, and he ruined my brother's life, and he ruined my sister's life, and he ruined my mother's life." And seeing the answers in the comments, some people are like, "This is unreal. Like, so sad that you went through this as a kid." And some other people are like, "Man up.
Wow.
You're a wimp. You're like," the words, like I screenshotted them all. I was like, how do people say that? And so for a second, it really hit me. I was like, man, that's why that little boy couldn't get out.
Did you screenshot them?
I think it's important to have that to see how to use that in the future, because there's going to be other people who are like me who don't know how to get through this. And it's not that I want to go like ruminate or just kind of sit in it, but I don't see it as a negative as much as I see it as like an opportunity. I see it as a,
Even then?
yeah,
In that moment?
it hurts. It
Yeah, it
hurts. But
hurts.
like, I remember when I lost the weight, for instance, and I put out my first music video, being signed, a big artist, like this was like my dream come true. And the first comment was, "You can lose the weight, but you're still the same size piece of shit." And it was like, but you have to
Cruel.
have to laugh. That's,
You do.
like, that's a really good joke.
That's coming from pain. Well, that's not a good joke.
It's a really good, that's a really well written joke.
But as you grow and you do the work, you realize that that's coming from their pain.
Yeah, like the thing is, I could never say that to someone.
Yeah.
Like I can't even say that about my stepdad.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I struggle. I'm like, I try to see like there's a boy in him, and there's a child in my mom, and there's all these things that happen to people, and like who in their right mind or in like in the right space is going to go and write something like that. It says more about them. It doesn't say anything about me. I'm dealing with it, and I know what I am. I have to look at myself in the mirror every single day. There's nothing that someone's going to tell me that I haven't already like thought about myself. Or,
Well, you've been to the depths of hell,
yeah.
really. So when people want to slap things all over you, you're like, hey, listen, I already did that to myself.
Yeah, say what you want from your ivory tower. Like, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm not you. And the thing is, I'm gonna die one day, and no one's gonna give a shit anyway. It's like, that's not this. The journey isn't about what you think about me. Like there's a quote somewhere. I'm gonna butcher it so bad.
Screwed up.
But it was something to the effect of like, if you look at your own life and think about how much thought you've put into people who've passed on, it should tell you how much you should care about your experience and what people say. A terrible job paraphrasing. Someone could find it.
But it's interesting because when I have guests on, I have asked this question before at your funeral. What do you want people to say about you?
He made it.
It's funny because most people say, I tried, or I made it, or it's something very simple. At that moment, it literally is brought down to just this little thing.
But that's what it is. It's a life lived. Like, I don't know what the answer is. I know that this is my disposition. This is my starting line. And I can look back and not like it just as much as somebody else. There's anything I've ever done that I feel is wrong in life, I'm upset about too. Anytime I've ever wronged somebody or said the wrong thing, like if you think that, people out there, someone says happy birthday and you say you too, and you think about that for a week, like, don't think that I'm not thinking about the harshest things in my life. Like, I'm a product of my environment.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up like being this, like, I didn't stay the soft, gentle kid. I became the armored child who could deal with the punches of life.
Do you feel like you've just learned how to carry it with you?
I did carry it with me. And now I'm learning how to evolve past it.
What does that look like, letting go? I mean, I personally struggle with that, Forrest. I, don't have a great relationship with my parents, and there has been a lot of stuff that has gone on over the years. And I really struggle not so much. I've had to learn to carry it because it doesn't feel like I can just let it go.
I don't know if I can let it go. I think there's like over time, I'm learning how to accept. And I think the way I've always tried to explain it to people, because some people maybe they don't know how to explain it, or they don't know what they're feeling themselves, or some people don't know what it is other people feel. For me, I feel like there's a 5-year-old kid who lives inside of me. And when things started to get heavy, that kid like built me, and it built this like impenetrable tank of a human being. And I then took control, like this version of me. And I say it's like us. I feel like it's two different people. I feel like that kid in me built me up to be the soldier to take the hit, because that kid couldn't take the hit.
So when you tell that story of all the things that you have overcome, you built this shield, do you resent when somebody says it made you stronger?
I don't resent it because I can understand where it comes from. The thing is, like, I can understand the negative. It's like everything. I can understand the negative comment.
Mm-hmm.
I can be in your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hold you to this standard I don't want to be held to. It's like you need forgiveness and you need grace and you need to figure it out too. So if you're like a keyboard warrior, cool, then that's where you're at in your life. And I'm sad for you. And I hope that that's not where you stay, because there's a lot more on the other side of that. And if you're a jerk to people, well, I hope you figure that out, because it's not a really good way to live. And so I've kind of changed the way I talk about people. I used to say like, those people are stupid, or they're dumb, or like they're idiots. And it's like, those aren't.
Now, what is the language that you use?
They're limited.
They're limited.
Just limited. Like that's where they can get to right now.
They're limited.
And I don't know what in their life is limiting them. I don't know what's holding them back. And
I'm not Oprah, but that's my aha moment in this already. They're limited. I love that language.
They are, yeah. They're kids too.
They're also facing that 5-year-old child, and
that's it. And that's the thing. Like I can sit in that, and it's hard because like sometimes people do you so wrong that like this is something I'm learning. Like I just because I understand that doesn't mean I have to invite people into my sphere.
So
it's a whole other thing.
Because years ago I was going through some stuff, and a friend of mine invited me to her church. She's actually my hairdresser, and we went to this church, and I was kind of a fish out of water in this particular church, but I loved the music. They were just amazing musicians. And I was having a great time, and the pastor got up and he started preaching, and he said, listen, I want to talk about forgiveness. And he's like, forgiveness doesn't mean, I want you to forgive, but he goes, it doesn't mean that you invite them over for a ham sandwich after.
Yeah.
And everybody started to laugh. And then he proceeded to say, listen, that forgiveness can come with a boundary, because otherwise you didn't learn your lesson.
Yeah.
And I have carried that with me probably that was right around the time that I got divorced in 2020. And I have carried that with me. And it's been some of the most profound advice that I've ever heard. And it was me wandering into this church with this friend where I didn't think I belonged. And
sometimes you just need to hear the right thing at the right place and time. Yeah.
I Googled you a little bit, and I know you through some of our friends, and I know some of your story, but you have been homeless, living on the streets. You've been, on sold out tours, 2024, over 650 million streams of If You Love Her, a duet with Meghan Trainor, becoming Billboard Emerging Artist, you name it, multi-platinum certified. I know how much work you had to get there. I got a little piece of it when I was signed to Disney for a few years when I first moved to Nashville. But where did music start in you?
So I was homeless as a kid. Like my dad was in jail. My mom was...
Your stepdad.
My stepdad. That's the thing I'm struggling with. I'm trying to figure... He's the only dad I really knew.
Interesting.
Which is a whole other challenge. Like I met my bio dad when I was 18. I lived with my Nana I moved in with her when I was 15, and she made me go get a job, and I worked at a French fry place.
Go Nana.
Yeah, and the whole time, there's these big giant bay windows, and the only thing in front of the bay windows is one house and a highway and then a big street, and my bio dad lived in that house. I had no clue.
Did she know that?
No, nobody knew.
What do you think that is? What is the universe telling you on that?
I don't know. I've given up trying to figure it out. I think that there is
Did you realize it then?
No, I had no clue.
When did you realize?
I was 18, and I met him.
And you realized he was right there.
Yeah, his whole family. So like my brothers and sisters, I could have served them like hot dogs and hamburgers and fries. Probably did. So yeah, as far as music, like it was a struggle because I didn't like looking back on it now, I didn't know where it came from. because I didn't have any influence. I wasn't really allowed to listen to too much music. Like
Your parents weren't musicians. They
uh,
weren't,
my
get up.
stepdad liked like certain songs, and then he would like constantly play those certain songs, and then like there was I mean, someone tried to kill him when we were kids, and that
Of
became
course,
the whole
that's
thing.
part of your story.
Yeah, they tried to assassinate him. They shot him a bunch of times, and so then he was like very worried about what type of music, because he was like trying to figure out why the world would do that to him. It's crazy. And I remember, this is a quick little offshoot. When I was in grade 6 in Montreal, you graduate, you go to high school after grade 6. So you graduate, you have like your little mini like elementary graduation, and they asked like what song, like what's your song? And mine was Lake of Fire by Nirvana.
No way.
And so when my stepdad saw that, like I got, yeah, it was bad.
Beaten.
Well, the whole song is like, where do bad folks go when they die? They don't go to
Mm.
heaven where the angels fly. They go to a lake out fire and fry. See them again on the 4th of July. Crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't. I just. That song really connected with me in my grade 6 body.
Oh my!
And
So were you immediately shut out?
oh, it was rough. Yeah, I mean, we circle back on it. It was rough, but music. I liked songs. I loved songs. Like like Don Henley and the Eagles, like Desperado did something to me, and I would listen.
Say Desperado, why don't you come to your senses?
And all right, yeah, it's that song did something to me.
That song did something to me too.
Yeah,
I feel
something about the melodies, like there was room for me
yeah.
in that
There was
song.
pain in it.
And there's so much pain, and like, so my Nana takes me in and she offers me a gift. She goes, "I want to get you something. What would you like?" And I didn't know how to answer that question. I don't recall a time being asked that, apart from one other time when I was a little boy. I was 5. My uncle David asked me what I wanted for Christmas or my birthday, one of the two, and he opened this catalog, and there was a guitar and then a guitar and a mic, and I said the guitar and the mic because there's two things, not just one. And he bought it for me, and it broke within 2 seconds. And so the next time I get asked this question was by my Nana, and I'm like, the guitar, but not the one with the mic.
Don't get the cheap one.
Get the cheap one. And so she bought me this, like, I think it was called like an Aztec or something. This like, this Korean made like kind of like Strat type of guitar, Fender Strat.
Mm-hmm. And you're how old at this time?
I'm about 15 or 16.
Okay. And you're in high school.
I'm in high school, but my Nana's not she's not overwhelming at all. Like, I live in her basement. Nobody bugs me. It's just like literally catching.
She's somewhat of a parental figure.
She is, yeah.
She is, but you have a lot of free reign.
I have all free reign.
All free.
The deal is I go to school.
Okay.
So I'm sitting in the basement with this guitar, and I will never forget it. I can like go right back to there like right now. I pick up the guitar. I didn't know I wasn't a singer. I didn't know I could sing. Like, I would sing Backstreet Boys to girls to try to make them like me. So like that was about like, if you show me the meaning, like I had my little dance moves. But I picked up the guitar and I remember strumming the strings, and they could have been all out of tune. That I don't remember, but I felt something. Like, it felt like the sky cracked open, and like something hit me in the heart, and it made me feel sick to my stomach. Like, I literally felt like I was going to throw up. It was so.
And you were only singing to yourself.
I wasn't even singing. I was just strumming. I didn't even know how to strum the guitar. I was just one string. And then like this like guttural like type of sound started coming out of me. And I was shocked. I was so scared of it that I remember putting the guitar down. I was like, what was that?
What was it?
I don't know. And I feel like that's the thing I've been talking to for the past, X amount of years of my life now. That thing has never left. It talks to me. And it sounds kind of weird and woo-woo, but it's like, yeah, I call it my muse. Like, it's, I feel like it's a her. I feel like it's very caring and compassionate and wonderful. And like, I feel like she offers me words and thoughts, and I sit here and I channel, I guess, and like try to interpret. And like, if anybody from when I was 16 heard me talk like this, it'd be like,
oh,
what are you talking about?
I mean, I 100% agree. I was an introspective kid, and I was attracted to these types of conversations even back when I was
same. I loved it.
In my 20s, maybe not my teen. Yeah, I loved the depth.
Yeah, but this was like different. I was like, what is this?
You can't pinpoint it.
I didn't know it was writing. That's what was happening. Like, that, I think that thing, like, that you're just pulling stuff out of thin air. I don't know what it is. And I'm just.
So did you start writing at 15?
I was writing poetry. I was writing words. Words always mattered to me, and words came from a terrible spot again. Like, my handwriting was sloppy in the like 6th grade, and my stepdad decided to ground me for a year.
Because your handwriting.
because my handwriting was messy. And so I had to come home and I had to take words out of the dictionary and I had to write the words out. I had to write the meaning of the words and I had to use those words and write a story.
If there's a lesson in everything, what was the lesson in that moment for you?
Yeah, then I wrote myself out of that room. Yeah, yeah.
That was that voice.
That's true. I mean,
Well, maybe that's it. We were just talking about the kitchen island downstairs before we came up here about how we both despise the saying.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. I have never enjoyed that when somebody says it to me. Sometimes I will pacify them if I don't feel safe in that relationship. I'll just pacify them. But I don't believe that.
No, the welts across my childhood body wouldn't
Not
agree
have
with you.
for a reason. Yeah, that's right.
But I did find reasons in everything. And that's what I think, like that's it.
Do you believe this is interesting? You're not a parent, right? Yeah.
I mean, I have a 7-year-old bulldog.
Okay, so
It's like having a 2-year-old child, from what I understand.
So do you believe you have to struggle to be successful? Okay.
No.
So
I think that struggle is attached to it, I suppose, because part of imagining you can do anything crazy requires some sort of understanding that there might be some struggle along the way.
Yeah, I don't know where I stand on this because I think, obviously this podcast is called The Shit Stick of Life, and that's because everybody gets hit by the shit stick of life.
Well, let's define struggle maybe.
Okay.
What's struggle? Because it's relative.
I think the pain is where the lessons are.
Okay. The pain is...
Maybe I'm projecting though, because the pain has been the lessons in my life and the growth have happened by going through the pain.
I think I agree with that. I think there are lessons through pain. I think there are lessons through the opposite end of that.
I think so too.
I think
through happiness, through joy,
and joy,
through all of those things.
Yeah, I think what pain provides is perspective. Like it provides like the scale.
Yes.
So like to me, I really I always use like Mount Everest as like a scale in my mind when I try to explain like most things. Like people when they ask me what it's like to make it as an artist, I'm like, I don't know. It's not what I thought. So to make it through pain, to make it through struggle, I don't know. It's like getting to base camp at Mount Everest is probably going to require a little bit of work and effort and energy, but that's not the pain yet. But if you don't climb a foot higher than that, that's your new scale. Like that's your metric of pain is getting to there. And if you decide to climb on beyond that, then you're gonna have a new scale of pain. And the thing is not to diminish other people's versions of that. You can't climb beyond that and then tell someone who didn't climb to that point that they know less than you. Mm-hmm. No, they know similar, but it's a different degree. So it's like trying to compare sunburns. Who has a worse sunburn? Well, if it's relative, it's the worst I've ever been burnt, worst you've ever been burnt.
There's nothing worse than when you're telling your story and you're talking about your own pain and somebody says, well, this is what happened to me. And I'm like, whoa, I don't want to diminish that at all. You tell, give it to me. Right. But it's really, people are often trying to compare. And I feel like that happens a lot.
Well, quick question on that. Because I used to think that. Mm-hmm. But now I think they want to connect.
So interesting you say that, because when I was going through pain and through struggle and trying to figure out what my why was and how I was going to survive it.
Yes.
I turned to connection. I turned to other people. I turned to people like you without knowing you, but to people who had been through it, who had survived it, who had grown through it, and who had found light at the end of it. And now my hope is that if there's one person that's listening to it and, oh my goodness, I mean, we're in the first season and Emma's sitting over here. She sends me messages every day that we receive going, you have no idea, but this was the moment I needed to hear this.
Yeah. I mean, I need them as much as everybody else. You need them. People need them. I think that's the thing about sharing these stories. Like, yeah, it is the shit stick of life.
Yeah.
But there's a sentence I wrote years ago in a song that never came out, but it was, if we're all alone together, are we really all alone? And I think that's the true nature of it. I think
all alone together.
Are we really all alone? Yeah, it's because I wish that when I was a kid, there was access to things like this where I could see that someone else was experiencing something. Mm-hmm. It would have saved me a lot of trouble in life. It would have saved me a lot of, directional problems. It would have maybe changed the way I spoke to somebody or the way I guarded before I accepted. Like, because, part of the challenge, I think, of coming from difficult things as a kid is that my natural inclination or response to things is to be defensive. It's to prepare for hard things. And not everyone's trying to come at you with hard stuff.
That's right.
So it's like I'm trying to unlearn a lot of these behaviors and patterns, and they're not easy because it's natural.
Yeah, it takes work.
It takes I'm having to retrain, and it's not coming easy to me. I'm like, well, I know how to defend myself. I know how to be completely strong in every situation, but being strong in every situation isn't inviting people in to be gentle with me. And my natural desire is I'm strong because I'm afraid of being hurt when I'm gentle. So I have to like work through this all the time. It's kind of like to love my wife. You know, my wife is the single best thing that's ever happened
Your wife
to me.
is amazing.
She's amazing.
I haven't spent enough time with her, but I've spent enough to know that she's amazing.
She's everything.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I would be able to show up for her the way that I do had I not
Shown up for yourself.
shown up for myself, learned these things, you know, and maybe to your previous question about suffering. I did suffer a lot with my past relationship, as much as they did, I'm sure. And I learned a lot. And now I get to be a different version of myself and be a better man. And I have someone who's inviting that. And it allows me to show up differently.
Better Man has already been written, by the way,
No.
but you know.
I've got versions.
Song.
I've got versions. Yeah.
So what was your most defining moment in your career? Like, was there a moment when your music became more than just background noise?
Well, I never picked music. Music picked me. Like, I really feel like I'm a servant to it. Like, I don't know. Everything else I try to do, anytime I try to do anything else, it feels like the wheels fall off. It feels like I'm not allowed. Like, it would be so much easier for me to use like the brain skills that I have to like go in and like learn another skill set and become a doctor. Like, I could do that.
I know.
I'm not afraid of like my mind works well. And I'm very confident in myself and my abilities. This is the opposite of like what anyone should do. You know, I try to warn people. I'm like, if it doesn't drill you in your brain and heart every day, like run 1,000 miles away from it. Go do something stable. You'll have not just say a much better, happier life, but it'll certainly be a much less stressful life.
Yeah, I went through that a little bit, and I have some regrets, but not, regrets come with choices.
Yeah.
So you move away.
Well, this is the defining moment.
Yeah.
My stepdad came to me and said, "It's time to kill or be killed."
Kill or be killed? Was he being literal?
Yeah. It's like, you know, if you're gonna follow the
In your footsteps of your family.
that's the next stage. I don't think I've ever said that out loud, by the way. It's just like
Kill or be killed. And at this point, has he ever put you in a position where he's asked you to sell drugs or do something illegal?
he did a lot of terrible things.
Okay, he did a lot of
And
that.
it really affected, you know, when you're a kid, you want your dad to tell you that they love you. You want your dad to say you're good.
Yeah.
And
Also, as an adult, you want that too.
Yeah, I've realized as an adult, I've never heard that. I don't think my stepdad or dad ever said "I love you" to me. I don't remember it. I don't remember ever having a hug. I don't remember any type of kindness and warmth from men in my life. So it's a very bizarre set of feelings. So as a kid and an adult, yes, you aspire to have affirmation. And my stepfather is a sociopath. Like, to be that type of person, you're not okay. Like, and I understand that now, and I feel bad for him. His life, I can't imagine what it looks like. It's not great. And
so in this moment, he says, "Dude, step up."
Yeah, and I said no. Like, that's not me.
And is your mom over here saying,
This is my
Mason?
No, she wasn't. Like, it wasn't really any
source of.
No, it was him, like, full on, like, manipulating and getting into my head and my brother's head and, like, setting us up to be soldiers. You know what I mean? To be the next wave of that thing.
So did you leave?
Yeah, I finished reading a book called The Celestine Prophecy.
The first book that I read at 18 years old.
The first book I finished.
Celestine Prophecy.
Yeah, I only read 2 books before, which was...
That's crazy.
It was Stuart Little and then Trumpeter Swan by E.B. White.
Oh my gosh.
And then a friend of mine came over with that book and was like, "Hey, I think you might want this." She thought of me, and I was like, "Okay." And it sat on a bookshelf. I didn't read, and then one day I just wanted to read something, and I picked it up, and I couldn't stop reading it. Literally that day, when my stepdad came to me and said that to me, I finished the book, and I went, "Okay, how can I how can I do anything in my life right now? What do I need to do? What do I need to follow? I just have to look, where's the light? Where's the beacons of hope here, man? Like,
Mm.
because this is a pretty dire situation and I'm the perfect victim to fall into this trap.
And you knew that at that age? Or
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't think I would have been able to articulate it like that. I knew that it's something felt
very,
wrong and I was going to lose myself to it and I needed hope.
so you were following your instincts.
At that time, I needed to ask my girlfriend. And I said, hey, what do you want me to do? And she's like, leave. And I was like, okay. So I remember going home. I got on the computer and I just looked up the first available flight that night. And it was to Calgary. And I'd never been there. And then I ran around my house and I found any money I'd hid or anything that I'd left. I grabbed, I downloaded like all these places I could rent in Calgary. And I showed up in Calgary and I had nothing.
And you're how old at this point?
I was 21.
Okay.
I had nothing. I had a suitcase, which didn't show up. So I get to I'm at the Montreal airport. I'm talking the ear off of the desk person and they sent my bag to like Saskatchewan. And so I arrive in Calgary and I'm waiting and my bag never comes off the thing. And so I'm like, okay. And then everyone leaves and it's just me. And then there's like another person sitting in the airport with a broken bag. And I was like, it was like out of a movie from like a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, yeah.
I just like you'd see the camera looking at this one stupid bench in the airport and like.
And what did you think you were going to do when you got there?
I didn't know.
That was my story to come to Nashville. I had no idea what I was going to do when I got here, but I knew that I would be too scared to do it any other moment. I had to do it now.
That's me. I had to push go.
Push go.
And I land and I don't know where I'm going. And I sit next to this girl and I go, hey, why are you here? And because we're a broken bag. I'm like, you okay? Like, I just inquisitive. And she's like, my bag's broken. I'm like, okay, what are you doing though? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, this is super weird, but I need to get downtown. I don't know where to go. And can you help me get downtown? She goes, I live right downtown. I was like, can I drive you home? Like, I just need to get like oriented in this new city.
Young and stupid
young and stupid, both of us. And she goes, okay. And so she like, we get to the heart of the city. And then from there, I start my little trek in my little rented PT Cruiser. And I'm like looking at places. And anyway, I look at all these houses in Calgary. And then the last house I look at, they were like, it's available and we'll rent it to you. And I was like, oh my God, amazing. How much is it? And they said to the exact penny that I had in my pocket.
Do you think that's God?
I don't know.
That's the universe? What is that?
I don't know. Like, my relationship, I never really talk too much about God stuff or anything. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like a lifelong agnostic. I don't know. As soon as I think I know something, I realize I don't really know much about it.
The only thing that I know is I know nothing.
Yeah. So the definitive scares me. And I come from a world where people try to tell you and you become something and it's quite culty. So gangs.
I believe in something.
Yeah.
But the rest is fuzzy. That's what I said.
That's it.
Everything's fuzzy. I believe that there's something.
Yeah.
I believe there's energy that guides us. I believe in there's something. I just can't identify what that is.
It feels sometimes like it's fate, but then is life predestined? I don't know. Like,
I know
I'm the same. I think the interesting thing is we're all thinking about it.
But some people don't want to admit it. And some people don't verbalize it. I say that too, because as soon as I verbalize it, somebody will say, it's kind of how I feel. And I love when people are very definitive.
Yeah.
What they believe. And I think that's their story. That's their life. I'm just very confused about it all.
I'm more of a challenger. So when someone's definitive, I'm like, I'm not so definitive.
Yeah.
I've seen so much of the world that I don't know how to say I know something.
You have a place. You're in Calgary. Are you there to pursue music? Are you there to write? Are you there to get in trouble? Are you there? Like, what do you do?
I know the question starts at like, where's the inception of the moment? And the thing is, it's not like this one thing apart from the fact that now I'm away and now I'm on the tracks. And they're going somewhere, and I'm just kind of trying to look out for the little beacons of hope. And like,
is there anybody or any adult at this time in your life that is cheering you on?
My Nana, like she always was like,
you've got this.
She believed in me. Yeah, she's always been like, she's my lighthouse for sure.
Still with you?
Yeah, she's my hero.
Shout out to Nana.
100% all the time. Anybody who's a Nana's boy. I didn't know I could write songs. The girlfriend that helped me make the choice to move to Calgary, she bounced, and rightfully so, because I was awful. Like, I was in such a mess. And the kudos to her for having the strength to do that, because that was pretty difficult. And I was so heartbroken because like abandonment was a story that like I that was my story.
That was all you knew.
Yeah, and like it was
Now
like
here she's abandoning you.
yeah, and like then I'm just left, and all I have is this guitar that I would bring around with me that I was afraid to touch. And she was gone, and I just picked up the guitar and I started writing, and then a song came out, and then everyone around me like was like, "Yo, that dude, that song like really, I feel something in it." I don't know if they knew it was a good song or not. I didn't know.
Did any of those songs from that time in your life see the light of day?
Yeah, well, they did in an old project. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know where to play songs, so I went to a biker bar. I held karaoke on Tuesday nights. Calgary.
Calgary.
And I like yeah, walked up with my like little guitar and was like went to this guy named C Train. I always love shouting him out because for him to agree to that really was a really important part of my life. I just said, "Can I play a song?" And he went, "Yeah." And I looked like a crazy person maybe. And I got up and I played the song and I closed my eyes. I was so afraid. I'll never forget. Like I was trembling the whole time. And when I was done, like I was afraid to open my eyes and the whole room was silent. And then I opened them and like people were like, "Whoa." It was different.
Did that feel a little like a drug?
Ooh, well, that's what I mean. Like when you say, where did it start? Like
Mm-hmm.
that changed my life for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the affirmation I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I mattered for something. Like,
Is that still a feeling that you get when you perform?
yeah, I mean, I love it. I would say less so when I perform, more so when I meet people and I meet fans
And
or
you
just meet
connect.
people. Yeah. When I feel seen and then to be in this position now where then I can kind of turn that spotlight on other people, like how special that is. Like for me, I call it sacred. Like it's very sacred, this experience of being in a position where I can influence or I can create an opportunity or I can just
Stardom is really a platform for you to
yeah.
do good, to be better.
Couldn't care less about fame other than the fact that I know that with fame or success that you can influence. You can
What about money? How do you feel about money?
seen a lot of it. My stepdad was worth a lot of it. He didn't really care much about life, didn't care much about people,
Mm-hmm.
had everything. Like he was worth tens of millions of dollars. Like didn't care about anything. Didn't care about his family, didn't care about his
But how's now your relationship with money been affected by that experience?
well, I know what it's like to live in a car while writing songs, and I know what it's like to be
Because you've
home
been homeless.
multiple times. Yeah, it's frustrating. And I know what it's like to kind of have everything taken from you and everything kind of built back up. My relationship with it is probably won't have a lot of it. It could all be taken away tomorrow. I'm on fight or flight mode, I think, for life in that regard. Like, you could put $100 million in my bank account. I wouldn't know how to trust that. I would be like afraid. I struggle to buy socks for myself, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to buy like friends $100 meal and never think about it. But to buy myself a pair of $6 socks, I'd be like, I shouldn't do that.
Was that affected though by falling in love with Tuli and wanting to, be a couple and be a family?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but like, to be honest with you, the thing that I think about most with money, it's like the only place I've ever seen someone use money in a healthy way was my papa, like my nana's husband. And he passed when he was quite young, but he left a world for her to be okay. So I think about that a lot now. It's like, okay, everything I do is in case I go young as well, then Thule will be okay. And so that's my relationship with money. It's like,
I ask because I don't think we talk about it enough, and
yeah,
I feel like I didn't have a great relationship. I didn't grow up rich. I moved to Nashville with $300 in my pocket and a dream.
sick.
So, I get it. But I also I value my relationships first. I value all the things that I think are profoundly impactful to a happy life. But money, I had a really weird relationship with because it was always negative because I didn't have it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so I've learned to accept that it's also freedom. It's also, security. It also helps me sleep at night, knowing that, my kids can go to school and, I can educate them through travel.
Yeah.
So I just thought because you've been on such a roller coaster, watching your stepdad have so much and then sleeping in your car, how there's got to be something there.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I don't believe anything will stay. That's part of like my life. So why would money even stay? And I'm happy that when a bit of money comes in, like when I had a song climb the charts, and all of a sudden it's like, you get a SoCan check and you're like, whoa, I remember when those were like 30 cents.
SoCan is for people listening, is like the Canadian version BMI or ASCAP.
It's a place for songwriters.
Yes, they collect the money. Yeah, so when it's played on the radio, and it used to be, a bigger. Well, now it's probably harder to collect because it's
a whole different.
It's a whole other different thing. But yes, they collect the money and they take a small percentage and then find it and give it to the artist.
Find and give it to me. Yeah. So I remember getting checks that were nothing. Like I remember being homeless in LA and like getting like a $3 check and being like, I need this to work. So.
What's the craziest job you ever took to just make ends meet?
I mean, everything. I was a tow truck driver. I was a bouncer. I was like, before like
tow truck driver.
Before music took off, like I was a tow truck.
You were the jerk that was towing the car?
I was the hero that pulled you out of the snow. I worked for AMA, which was like, was like the nice guys. I never took it. I would always go help the old ladies with their batteries, and I would talk too long, and they would give me cookies or tea at their house, and like, that's what I was. I could never. Don't sue me, AMA, but like, you're supposed to charge people, and I don't think I ever did. So, I was like that. Like when I was 16, my nana's making me get jobs. And at one point I was a telemarketer, and there's like there's scammy ones.
Brutal.
And I couldn't do that to
That's
people.
a hard job.
So, but they had incentives. If you scam 10 people in a night, you could get $100 bonus cash. And at the time, it wasn't like digital credit cards. It was like things. So I would call people and I'd just take bogus fake numbers and just write down fake credit card numbers.
Get your $100.
$100. And I was scamming the company and piecing out. I was like, I can't scam anybody. That's too much, man. That's so hard to do to anybody.
What's the most touching thing a fan has ever shared with you about one of your songs?
Oh man, that's easy. I played the Greek years ago, and I was the opener that no one knew was coming. And I played my set, and I always go and hang around the merch booth or hang out. I always meet everybody. Like to date, like it hasn't changed even on headline tours. Like I'm always the last person to leave a venue. And the line that I had was crazy. Like it wouldn't stop. And so the second opener goes on, line still there. Headliner plays their hour-and-a-half set. Line is still there. The venue is closing. They're 15 minutes away from closing. There's an endless line of people still trying to see me. And at some point, the venue's like, you have to hurry up. We're kicking you out and everybody. And I was like, got it. So now I start rushing through people. And at some point, this little girl steps forward, and I was like super apologetic. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry that it's taken so long. Like, I'm so sorry I have to rush through it, and she's like, no, that's okay. And I was like, okay, thank you. And when kids usually come up to a merch booth and I'm signing like a poster for them, I always like to ask, especially if their parents are in front of them, what's something that you really love about yourself? Oh. It's not something like parents, I think often to ask a kid, but for them to hear it really special to watch, like as a person on the other end of this. And she looked at me and she goes, I'm incredibly resilient and brave. And I was like, what? And like the record spun in my head. Like, it was like, I was like, how, like, why? I was like, how old are you? And she's like, I think she said she's like 9 or 10. And I was like, wow, that's like super special to hear that from someone your age. Like, what makes you say that? And she goes, I have an inoperable brain tumor. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God. And I'll never forget, like, there was a floodgate inside of me that was like trying to like burst through my eyes. And I was like, lock that up, hold it, and be strong right now. And so that was the end of our like conversation. I signed up her poster and I gave it to her and her family. And then I'm like holding it together. I get through the remainder of the fans, get out the gate. We're traveling. We get to the hotel. Magically that night, the hotel just gave me an extra room. I didn't have to like sleep with like any bandmates in the room.
Yeah, this is a big deal when you're on the road.
Yeah, and so like now I have my own room, and I bawled. Like I broke down. And I think that it was such a moment of what is this thing that's happening? What am I doing? I can sit there and go, man, it's because I'm famous and people like me and like my songs. It's easy to get caught in that because there's a lineup looking at you. But when you have a 10-year-old kid with an inoperable brain tumor standing in line, something hit me of going, that kid stood in that line for like over an hour and traded. I don't know if their life was
terminal. Yeah, this is the perspective we were talking about.
Me, that hour of life, of like, that's all they have. That's the greatest currency. It's not money. It's not fame. It's not success. It's time. And we're going to both start crying because that's what happened in this moment. And I realized that what I'm trading to her is like 10 seconds because she's holding me in a position where she feels special and I feel special. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what this is. It's not,
And that's what it's about.
it's not going to be about anything else. And it hasn't changed. In fact, it just gets more intense for me because I'm like, oh wow, we just don't want to feel alone or beat up, or we want to feel something. We want to feel connected. And that's it. So that's what I do. Like, I'm not a prophet. I'm not a martyr. I'm not special. I'm just a kid who doesn't want to hurt and wants to feel less alone. And I've said that out loud, and the world is making me feel that. And my responsibility is to show up for people too and share that. I'm on stage and I get it. It's just one of me and my bandmates, and it's hundreds, if not thousands of people in the audience. So they experience this exchange and be very honest about what that is.
Well, then I'm going to pose that question to you too. What's something you really love about yourself?
I love that I can see people. Like, there's nothing someone can show me inside themselves that I'm afraid of. You can show me the darkest thing that's ever happened to you. It can be the worst thing. And I'm not afraid to love you in that. And it might not be easy, and it could be horrible. But it's the only thing that allows me to think that someone can love me.
Have you ever considered, or maybe you've done this, gone to prisons and to speak?
Yeah.
Because I feel like you would be so good in that setting.
Yeah, I did when I was in Calgary. I went and spoke at like a kids prison. Like, I went and did music classes with these kids, and
or juvie, or like even adult prisons, because you do see people, like, you have an energy about you, Forrest, that's so attractive. And it's because I feel like you're not seeing past them, but you're actually, like, you catch them in their moment.
Yeah, I'm always down. If anybody wants to call me to come to a prison, I want to spend the rest of my life just connecting and like making people feel seen.
I have one last question. And what is the best advice that you have ever been given that you would like to pass on right now?
The best advice I've ever been given. Wow, there's been quite a bit of it over my time. I mean, the thing that changed my career and trajectory, there's a venue I love. Again, it's another story of Calgary that I love sharing. There's this gentleman named Pat McIntyre, and he owns this little venue called the Ironwood in Calgary. And it's a place you want to play. It's like all the coolest musicians go through there, like the real ones.
Good energy in there.
The ones who can really play.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, the ones who like, they can play a fiddle and a mandolin and a guitar and an organ. And every night there's someone special who comes through there, and you can go on a Monday or a Wednesday and you'll find something that's inspiring and life-changing. And you go, wow, I wish I could be that.
Yeah.
And when I first started playing and people were telling me I was really good, I had like my natural like 21-year-old ego that was there with it. And I went and asked him. I played his open mics a few times, and playing one song is pretty easy. You can get away with it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, Pat, can I play a show at the Ironwood? And he went, yeah, of course. And so he let me play a show, and I sold it out. First ever show I ever did. I still have like the ticket at home, and it's like, it was really big. I made like a few grand on my first ever show and packed the venue out. It was amazing.
How old are you at this point, by the way?
22, man.
Okay.
And like I get up on stage, and like I'm like, I crushed this. I'm like, I'm so good at this, man. Like, everyone's telling me I'm good, and I come off stage and I have this like chip on my shoulder, and I think I had the arrogance and the need to get the affirmation, much like from my dad. And so I walk up to Pat and I'm like, so man, like,
how was I?
A lot of money, right?
Yeah.
This is amazing. I'm like, how you like this? And he looked at me. And he'll deny it to this day, kind of. Like, it depends how many beers he's had, and he'll start admitting it. He goes, like, basically, like, you'll never play here again. And I went, and that's exactly what I did. Shocked the shit out of my ego. And I was like, what? Like he's kidding. And he goes, next time play to a room of people who don't give a shit about you. And I went, whoa. And I left. And I was like, the toss between the high of like a show and people telling you you're good.
And being put in your place.
The guy who owns the venue, the guy who has nothing to gain from you and everything to lose from you, he told me I sucked. And so the next 2 years, I took the ego down, and I traveled around Canada, and I played to nobody. I played at venues in Thunder Bay where nobody was there. Just,
you did that based on that comment?
Yeah, I didn't hustle tickets. I just went and grinded it out. And then I had a song in mind at the time that was doing like okay, and it like online. It wasn't like nobody knew of me. And then that got me the opportunity to play breakfast television in Calgary, which is like a morning show.
Yeah.
And I accepted it, and I was driving back to Calgary, and I called and I begged Pat to give me a chance to play. It's like 2 years later. I was like, can I please play a show at the Ironwood? And they gave me a Tuesday or Monday night slot. And I was like, sold.
I'll take it.
And then breakfast television, I didn't call a single friend. I didn't call anybody I'd made friends with in Calgary. I was like, okay. And I'm going to play. And so breakfast television happens that morning of the show, or the morning before. I can't remember which day it was. But nevertheless, I remember calling the venue, and there's a girl named Amanda who still works there. And I was so scared. I was like, man, no one's going to be there. I'm going to be so defeated. Like, Pat's like, it's going to be embarrassing. And I was like, Amanda, like, just lay it on me. Like, what am I looking at here? Like, how bad is it? And she goes, yeah, you have like 100 something reserved tables, and we don't even have that in the place. And I was like, what? And we get there that night, and there's like a lineup and people trying to get in who couldn't get in.
Couldn't walk in and see Pat with any ego.
I didn't even see Pat.
Oh.
Walked in. I played the show. I put my heart out there. Like, I really represented it. My musicianship had gotten better. I still wasn't amazing, but I was better. And I'll never forget coming off stage and looking at Pat, and I said, how is that now? And like, I mean, it gets me emotional.
Yeah.
Whew. He had this like just super like smile and like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And like, why did
He'd made him proud.
Yeah, but I didn't, because he's like, he'll tell you, I don't remember me even saying this. So, and like, I was like, man, it changed my life, because it was like, yeah, again, it's not about me. It's not about my ego. It's not about my bullshit. It's that like, that guy's trying to keep a venue open, and I have to respect what that is. And like, it's my job to show up and like put on a good show, because people are they're going to talk about the Ironwood, and they're going to go, I saw a great show at the Ironwood. And it's not about me.
It's not about you.
That's the beautiful thing.
I hope Pat hears this.
Well, I tell him, when I got nominated for like my first Juno, I called Pat. When I got my first plaque, I called Pat. I was like, Pat. And every time I go back to Canada and I go to Calgary, I always go back there and I always see him. Or, you know, he came to we played in Calgary on a headline tour, and the place was sold out. And there's Pat, like, just like
beaming.
Yeah. And I always shout him out. Like,
so that, and it was a man in your life who was proud of you.
Yeah. Who stood up.
Who stood up and who was proud of you, and he taught you life lessons.
It really did. Yeah. So to any aspiring artists or anybody out there, like, just have a good chat with yourself about what it is you're actually doing, and like, what are you running from and what are you running towards? You know, what are you running towards?
What is one thing? What's next for you first? And what is one thing you haven't yet accomplished on your bucket list that you are running towards?
Yeah, I mean, running towards, to me, my goals, I suppose, are, look, I'm about to release music that's very honest. And my biggest goal is to tap into what I need to say and be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I it's not that I don't do that, but this is different.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been sitting on music for 5 years that I haven't released, and now,
because you weren't ready.
I wasn't ready. I don't know if the world was ready for me, and I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
And now I am. And
when is that coming out?
Now it's starting.
Yes.
So like, I was just in
Bring
the
it.
park and played a whole bunch, and yeah, there's a lot of songs, and so I'm in the throes of that. And for the thing that I haven't accomplished, I don't know. I have a million things. I'm an artist. Like, I want to write a book. I want to write movies. I do spoken words and poetry that I release. I would love to win a Grammy, but then when I check myself and I go, why do I need that?
Your ego, or is it?
I mean, what's the validation that I need? Yeah, we would mean something, but I mean, I have plaques, and I look in and they don't represent me. They represent the people who listened. It's not like I don't have 650 million streams. I have 650 times someone went, I'm going to choose that. That's them. It's not me.
150 million times, actually, but okay.
Yeah. On one song, yeah.
I got the ego for you.
1.3 billion now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's.
I might be a billion of those. I have. I'm a huge fan.
It's your husband listening, going, okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah, I'm like, baby, hey, you can't write this for me. He can write it, but you can listen.
Yeah, I want to connect with the world. I would love to play in every part of the world. I really want to live longer. I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great friend and a partner. I want to be better as a person. I want, the thing I really would love is Like I wrote this in a song where it's like, if people saw me now, could they forgive me for who I was and what I've done in life? Like, does it, in the same song, I'm like, does this mean I'm like self-aware, or does it mean I'm a narcissist? I don't even know what all of this is now.
I had been called both.
Yes.
One person might say, you are so self-aware. I love that about you. And somebody else might say, you're a narcissist.
You're a narcissist. So I think maybe I think as I'm thinking about it as we're talking, it's that like, I just dream of a world where the 5-year-old boy gets to be free. Like,
maybe that's in this music.
it is. Yeah.
Forrest, you are an absolute delight. And I am so honored that you sat here with me for the last hour and shared your story. You're a bright light in this world, and I will be cheering you on.
Thank you. Likewise.
You actually have a phone number.
310-496. Yeah.
Oh, God.
464. Yeah.
There we go. So it'll be in the notes and in show notes. If you want to send him your stories and connect, it sounds like he would love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Forrest.
Thank you.
Find new episodes of the Shit Stick of Life podcast every other Thursday. Follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.